Our opening speaker's passion and purpose is to empower and equip you for sustainable transformation. He has over 30 years of experience and has partnered with more than 2,400 organizations. Here today to talk about how to spark empathetic leadership with accountability, please help me welcome Simon T. Bailey.
Hey. Good to see you. Come on in, let's go. Yeah! Let's go! All right, okay.
Good morning, there it is. Do me a favor, look at the person you're sitting next to, look him in the eye, and tell him you look marvelous, simply marvelous. Somebody said I look marvelous and I feel marvelous. Well, I am so excited that you are here. Welcome to Orlando, Florida. I live here in Orlando with an amazing woman named Jody. When she first saw me years ago, she just had to have me. So this is where you insert bless his little heart. But Jody and I are the proud parents of 4 children. We're a blended family, 3 daughters, 1 son from 21 to 28. And we just had our first grandchild. Her name is Halo. And so it's all good. Professionally, I have worked in the hospitality industry for almost 35 years. My last job was sales director, new business development director at the Disney Institute. And a lot of people often ask me, why did I leave Disney? So I'm going to share a story with you, my new BFFs, all right? Can we keep it here? Well, all right. So December 10th, 2001, I'm sitting at my desk at the happiest place on earth. And whenever you work at Disney, Mickey Mouse rule number 1 is you never talk to the media unless authorized. Well, I got a call from a journalist and he said, where do you see yourself 10 to 15 years from now? I said, well, I see myself as the president and CEO of the Walt Disney World Resort and eventually the chairman and CEO of the Walt Disney Company. He puts this in print. The article comes out, page 12, Florida Business Trend magazine, February 2002. There's my picture with the Mickey Mouse topiary behind me. And my boss called me in the office and he's like, dude, help me. What were you thinking when you did this interview? And I said, Larry, I work at this company whose motto is, if your heart is in your dreams, no request is too extreme, for when you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. It's funny today, it was not funny then. So y'all see where this is going, right? So HR shows up and they asked me to sign a little piece of paper that went into my personal file. And let's just say Disney didn't fire me that day. But a year later, I heard the footsteps coming and they were not singing. It's a small world after all. So I decided to do the unthinkable. I cashed in my entire 401k with significant Disney stock, took out a line of credit on the house, decided to go for it. And here we are 21 years later. What? Still standing. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to compress learning into the time that we have. I've worked with almost 2,400 organizations in 54 countries in the last 21 years since leaving the Mouse House. And I want to give to you my best thinking that will help you as dance studio CEOs to take it to another level. If you're ready to take it to another level, everybody raise your right hand, raise your right hand. On 3, I want you to say, take it to another level. But wait, I want to see some neck action moving. I want you to get into it. On 3, 1, 2, 3. All right, high five your neighbor. Make sure they're awake with the program. Okay, I'm going to move really fast because I do have a few interactive exercises for us. But as you see, this is our focus. So here is the big takeaway. Leaders create the experience for team members create the experience for customers drive revenue, reverse engineer. Revenue comes from customers that have been engaged by a team member who connects with a leader that absolutely loves and appreciates their team and their staff. What? Yes, it's right there, all right? So how do we get there? I'm going to give you 3 principles, these 3 principles, and there are 5 micro practices because I think it's important that you have some key takeaways that you can use, all right? So let's go. The first thing I want you to start with, everybody says, Simon says, take your meds. All right, some of y'all said, Simon said, take your meds. All right, we're going to do it on 3, power, filling, conviction. I want you to find your inner chutzpah. Use your outdoor voice, indoor. On 3, say, take your meds. 1, 2, 3. Take your meds. All right, meds is an acronym that stands for meditate, exercise, diet, sleep. Before you can do anything else, oh brilliant one, you do know that you're sitting next to oh brilliant one, right? Just look at your neighbor and say, hello, oh brilliant one. Somebody said, I'm glad you finally recognize. One of the things I want to invite us to think about, here's what all the research says. According to Gallup, who has looked at almost 191 nations, what they're saying, roughly 7 out of 10 people are dealing with stress, anxiety, depression, and we mask it really well. You ever meet somebody and you ask them how they're doing? They're like, fine. You know, that's just a screensaver face answer, like, I need you to move along. I'm fine. Don't be trying to get all up in my business, all right? I'm fine. But here's what I know to be true, and this is what I encourage leaders to think about. How you start the day determines the day, and it sets the tone for the day. So everybody picks up on your energy as to how you're doing. Do y'all mind if I come off the stage? I feel a little far away from y'all. Let me come off this stage. It's a good hair day for me today. The Godiva tan's working today, so you know. So when I talk about take your meds, meditate, exercise, diet, and sleep, it's all about slowing down to the speed of the moment. So I want to give you a practical micro practice that you can take with you right now. So I need everybody sit up straight, feet flat on the ground. And I'm going to take you through an exercise that I learned from one of my mentors, Dr. Jean Watson, who is known as the Lady Gaga of nursing. And she teaches an exercise called centering, all right? So we are going to get centered. In a moment, I'm going to invite us to take a deep breath. Inhale, exhale. We're going to do it 3 times, all right? On 3. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. We're going to do it again, but I want to invite you to inhale for 3 seconds, exhale for 7 seconds. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Last time. 1, 2, 3. How many of you feel calm? How many feel empowered? How many feel sleepy? Okay. Don't answer that third one. Here's the deal. When you slow down to the speed of the moment, how many of you have ever had days when everybody wanted a piece of you, right? Abby, have you had days like that? Abby, raise your hand. This is Abby. I don't want y'all to think I'm talking to my imaginary friend, all right? Who's Abby? I don't know Abby. So Abby, when we slow down to the speed of the moment, meditating creates the internal environment within ourselves, yes? Rabbi Harold Kushner, who wrote the book, What Matters the Most in Life, Rabbi teaches a concept called emotional congruence. Rabbi says when you're operating in emotional congruence, everything that you think, everything that you say, everything that you feel is in alignment. Rabbi says when you're not in alignment, there's a split in your soul and your energy is scattered. How many of you ever had days when you're just here, there, and everywhere? Come back to the breath. Come back to the breath. Slow down to the speed of the moment, because the internal environment creates the external environment. People walk into the environment. Your dance studio is an environment of energy. And the energy from your spirit, the energy from your positivity sets the tone for the day as people enter into the studio. Yes? Yes. Okay. Now, so I want to invite us to commit to connect. And committing to connecting is, Abby, the moment I greet you and I say, hello, Abby, how are you? That commit to connect becomes almost healing presence, Because I don't know what you dealt with prior to coming into this studio, but the moment you enter into this studio, it's different because Dr. Maria Music from the University of Michigan says human beings need 3 things. How many? 3. Number 1, to be seen, to be valued, and to be understood. So Kelly, when I greet you and I use your name, Kelly, how are you? I might be the first person that said, how are you? And you're like, what? I'm not gonna tell you, but thank you for asking. Or whatever. It's that committing to connecting. And so I want us to think about what is the tone that we set with our team members? Because our team members create the experience for the customers that we serve. And how do we ensure that our team members, they have their head in the game, that they're fully present, they're fully there. And when we ask them how they are doing, what we're really doing, Heather, is we are hugging them with our words. And when we are hugging them with our words out the gate, they know that as a CEO, Chief Engagement Officer, I'm engaging you, James, and I see you, and this is a place of love and care. That's right, I said it. Because if team members don't feel love, they work hard enough to keep a job and do just enough to keep from getting fired. All right, let's keep going. So here's the question. What is your studio culture? What's your studio culture? Why culture? Everything that I learned at the Mouse House is all about culture. Now, Disney is not a perfect organization. I'm just using them as an example because I worked there and I sniffed the pixie dust and got the microchip planted right here, and I came out singing, "Yes, that's what after all." So anyway, culture is everything. So what's the tone in your culture? All right, so you'll see I've got some things listed here. Determines the team member experience. When I talk about the team member experience, so September 21st, 1996, I joined the happiest place on earth. And is it Dodie? So Dodie, this is Dodie. Dodie, raise your hand. This is Dodie. All right. So Dodie, September 21st, I joined the happiest place on earth. And the first couple of days it's been at Disney University. And at Disney University is where you drink the Kool-Aid, you sniff the pixie dust, you're like, woohoo, I'm at Disney, like, oh, this is so cool, right? And so then you have to go and work in the parks. And what a lot of people don't know is when the parks get really busy in the summer, Dodie, it's all hands on deck. And if you look at me, I'm all about the air conditioning. I'm not trying to work at anybody's theme park in the months of June, July, and August. But I was invited to get up off my blessed assurance and go and work in the park. So I'm at Sunset Boulevard at MGM Studios. Today it's called Hollywood Studios. And I got on a blue smock, a broom, a dustpan in my hand, my name tag that says Simon from Buffalo, New York. For all the Kansas City fans, keep your mouth shut right now. It's been a tough 48 hours. Feel my pain. I know Kansas City fans are whipping out the violin, whatever, next season. So anyway, Dodie, my responsibility is to sweep the streets of Sunset Boulevard. It's July, Dodie. I'm hot. I'm like, whatever. I was not having a very magical moment. So some guests were coming towards me because at Disney, you never call them customers, you call them guests. And Dodie, they caught a glimpse of my name tag. They said, "You're from Buffalo, New York." I said, "Yes." They said, "We're from Buffalo, New York." Like, no way. They're like, "Where'd you go to school? Where'd you grow up? What's your parents' names?" Dodie, I didn't know these people from Adam Housecat, let alone from a can of paint, but we're having a major conversation. So I said, "What have you done since you've been here at Disney?" Like, "Oh, we're going to Epcot, we're going to Magic Kingdom, we're going to Animal Kingdom." I said, "Now that you're here at MGM, you gotta ride Tower of Terror." Anybody ever been on Tower of Terror? All right. I said, "Then you got to experience Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular and then eat at the Brown Derby, which is old Hollywood with a Disney twist." So a couple of hours later, I'm drinking something cold to cool off. And Dodie, that's when I had the whack upside the head. Disney never sent me out to the park to sweep the streets. They sent me out to the park to connect with the family that had probably saved 3 to 5 years of their discretionary income to come to Disney for maybe once in their lifetime, and a family of 4 in a 7-day stay, according to Disney Business Analytics, will spend about $10,000. So what I'm about to say, I mean this figuratively, not literally. I quit my job at Disney and I went to work at Disney because Disney never hired me to do a job, don't miss this, They hired me to create a moment. I needed to be accountable to creating a moment. Let's drop a pin in that. Why moments? The business that you are in, CEOs of your dance studios, you are in the business of moments. Because when parents see little Johnny, little Susie dancing, oh my God, the grandparents are there, the cameras are out, the videotaping is happening. Those are moments. And those moments are memories for them. But let's reverse engineer. Where did the moment start? It started with the team member who works with the leader who created a moment for them. Now, why is that important? Principle number one. Are you creating a positive environment? Because that environment creates everything. Make the note. Everything speaks. Everything. You need to have happy people answering your phone, happy videos on your website, because that's the first impression. It sets the tone. Now, one more example from Disney. I'm not trying to turn your dance studio into a Mickey Mouse operation. That's not my goal. But one of the things they teach at the Mouse House is that there are 70 touch points, 70 touch points in the experience. And where those touch points begin is in the hiring. Hire for attitude, train for success. Training does not fix what a CEO, a manager does not catch. There are some people that are more negative than an undeveloped piece of film. Bless their hearts. You don't want them at your studio because you are in the business of moments. Can I get a what? All right, so now, why is this important? Let's look at some numbers. The average cost of replacing an employee or team member, as you're reading this, $12,000 to replace a person that's making $36,000, $20,000 to replace a person that is in management, $3,500 to replace somebody if they're making $8 an hour. How much is it costing you every time somebody leaves you? But let's take it a step further. What's the cost to your dance studio? Reputation, right? Yeah. Resentment, and then rumblings. Child, you don't want to go and work there because you know I heard wah, 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 wah. And sometimes something happens at a studio, a person leaves, and it becomes something more than what actually happened. Yes. Real talk, family, real talk. So what I'm about to share with you as we dive into this first principle is, okay, Simon, how do we become more accountable as CEOs to make sure not only do we hire the right talent, but how do we engage them in such a way where they feel the dance studio love? All right, everybody get your hands up like this. Come on, we're gonna have a little fun. Watch me on 3. Dance studio love. 1, 2, 3.
Dance studio love.
Yes, because when they feel it, that's right, I said feel it. Why? Here's the research. Gallup says 70% of human decision making is emotional, 30% rational. And when people emotionally connect to a brand, a studio, research says they will spend more, pay a higher margin, and will Yelp about it. But it starts with, do I feel the love? All right? So let's unpack this. Our team recently did a national study, worked with a firm because we wanted to understand working America. So we surveyed 1,000 people all over the country from Gen Z, millennials, Xers, boomers. Here was something that we saw, and I said, oh my goodness. I want us to read this together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so the question becomes, Simon, that's very nice, very sweet, very special. What is brilliance? Here's what our research, as we did a deep dive, told us. People want to work in a supportive and compassionate environment. You can take pictures of this slide, please do, where they are coached and there is empathy. So if we as CEOs want to inspire brilliance in talent and team members, How do we ensure that everybody in the organization, in the studio, comes alongside that team member who has direct contact with your students, your parents, and we make sure that person knows you are seen, valued, understood. We care about you. You are not just a social security number in the HR payroll system or however you are compensated. This studio is different because of you. You are the difference. And when people begin to understand that you are compassionate towards them and you're very mindful of your language, you find a way to upgrade your verbal software because language is the software of the mind. And so, James, if I'm working in your studio, one of the first things I would invite you to think about is what is my self-explanatory style? When I communicate, how am I communicating? Or if you and I work together, how does James communicate? What's important to him? So when I'm communicating with you, James, or Heather, or Abby, how am I communicating to you in the way in which you want to receive it? So when you go through this list, it is all about others. How do we help them know that we see them? All right, so look at this stat on the far left. Gen Z, those from 20 to 26, are significantly more likely than older generations to say that self-awareness, being a team player, and confidence are the elements of brilliance most lacking from their work leaders. What does that mean? It's not who you are that holds you back from being a brilliant CEO. It's who you think you're not that holds you back. Everything you need to thrive is inside of you, oh brilliant one. The whole reason why you started this business, and you probably have multiple businesses, is because you believed. And there are moments where your resilience is challenged. Can I just tell y'all a quick little story? So I was married for 25 years, and my baby girl, Madison, the youngest, came into my home office one day, and I was just emotionally unavailable because I was dealing with business stuff. And I sensed she wanted to talk, but I was not there for her. So she said, Daddy, I'll just come back later. I said, okay. She leaves my office, and it hits me on the plane that I missed a moment to connect with my daughter. So when I came back off the road, I said, Madison, you wanted to talk to me the other day. And she said, Daddy, it's okay. I said, no, it's not okay. Because if I don't change my behavior, you're going to marry a joker just like me. And her mother said to me, after 25 years of being married, she said, you give everybody the best of you, but you give us the rest of you, and I don't want the leftovers anymore. So I realized after 25 years of being married, I got to build a business. You know, we had the 6,000 square foot house in a gated community with a circular driveway. Kids went to private school, whatever. I built a house but lost a home. Was chasing money but had no meaning, and was pursuing power but had no purpose. And when I went to the divorce attorney, is this too deep for y'all in the morning? Can y'all handle this out the gate? Okay. All right, some of y'all looking like, oh my God, we on the sofa already. I don't know him. So, Paige, reading is fundamental. Paige, I go to see my divorce attorney, and she says, I think you need to see a therapist. And no alpha male wants to hear that you need to go and see a therapist. Let alone her name is Anita, and she's been practicing therapy for 40 years and has more degrees than a thermostat. Anita said to me, whatever you don't deal with will eventually deal with you. And what I recognized, I could not show up in business until, James, I dealt with the stuff in my house because my house was jacked up. So what I recognized, I was passing that off on my team. I was barking. I was yelling because I was sad and I was unhappy. And when I went through the divorce, I got slapped, Beth, with a $500,000 tax liability. That's real. And oh, by the way, I've got to pay 6 figures in alimony and pay for college tuition for 2 children. And make sure that the child support is not late. So you're talking about you got to be in business, you got to be your brilliant self. Whatever. I didn't feel brilliant. But what I recognized, I had to understand it wasn't about me, boo. It was about my team, and how do I show up for my team and see them as brilliant as they go to serve our customers. So this is not a pretty slide that I'm putting up. I'm giving y'all real life at 55. Okay? Because we're all dealing with stuff. How many of you dealing with stuff? All right. If your spouse is sitting next to you, just keep your hand down, look straight ahead. You know we good. Okay. So, first micro practice. Simon, how do we create a studio where we create a brilliant agreement? So here's what I want us to do. We're going to have a little fun. In this exercise, this is something you can take back to your studio. Point to who will be the leader at your table. Just point to who will be the leader at your table. Real quick, real quick. All right. All right. Leader at the table who is totally surprised. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. All right. Leader at the table, do me a favor. Put your hand on the shoulder of the person next to you. That is the new leader of the table. All right. A little trickery up in here. Okay. Leader of the table. I want to invite you to identify who's going to be the scribe, who's going to be the timekeeper, all right? Who's going to be the scribe, who's going to be the timekeeper? Okay. Now, timekeeper, you have 3 minutes for this exercise, 3 minutes. Leader of the group, leader of the table, here is your instructions. There are 3 questions that I'm going to put up. When I put these questions up, your responsibility is to lead a discussion around the table for everyone to answer these questions. The scribe is going to capture what's being shared, all right? And I'll give you the backstory behind each question before I say go, all right? So the first question, how do you want to be treated by your leader? So scribe, go around the table, make sure everybody shares very quickly, all right? Second question is, how should we handle problems? Because stuff happens, all right? Now, when we say how should we handle problems, please go a little bit deeper. We need to be nice. We need to be friendly, respectful. Go a little bit deeper. You're all wicked smart folks, as they would say in Boston, wicked smart, all right? Third question, how do you want to be recognized for your contribution? Because everyone has an appreciation language, all right? Now, 3 minutes is going to go really fast, and you might not get through all 3, but I'm pushing you to get through all 3 because this is an exercise that you can take back to your studio with your team, all right? 3 minutes, go. Okay, if you can hear my voice, clap once. Hear my voice, clap twice. All right, do me a favor. Take that one sheet or that journal page where the scribe captured everything and everyone puts their initials on it. So pass it around the table. Everyone puts their initials on it. All right, this is the brilliant agreement. All right, this is the brilliant agreement. So pass it around. Everybody puts their initials on this. And part of why, normally, if I had more time, I generally take a half a day with some groups, but I only have a few minutes with you. I give you this exercise because I want to invite you to consider using this when you get back to your studio. Do it on a flip chart paper, have people sign it, then frame it. Frame it in an area away, obviously, from the guests and the customers, perhaps an operational area, and at any time, a team member can say, we just broke the agreement because we said that we would respect. So real quick, question number 1. What were some of the things you came up with? Love, respect. What else? Value, trust, acknowledgement. Newsflash. Trust is the emotional glue of every relationship. Trust, emotional glue. So at any time, a team member gets to hold each other accountable and say, hello, we just broke an agreement, number 1. All right, what did y'all say in number 2? How do we handle problems? Direct. Collaboratively. We don't throw people under the bus. We don't talk behind people's back. We address it because sometimes a situation is a puppy and it becomes a German Shepherd because we never dealt with it. We're going to handle it up in here. All right, third question. How do you want to be recognized for your contribution? What'd you come up with? Acknowledgement. Thank you. What else? Money, kindness. All right. All of those are great. Whatever you came up with is awesome. But let me share with you two important points. The reason sometimes, I'm going to just use Gen Z and millennials as an example when it comes to recognition, is because we don't see them, I'm speaking from a Generation Xer perspective, we don't see them as they are, we see them as we are. And one of my mistakes is I'm like, look, you got a job, you should be happy, all this thank you, kumbaya, hold hands, give you a trophy, you got a job, okay? And what I realized, if I didn't change, Disney was gonna invite me to find my happiness elsewhere. Insert bless my heart, okay? So I had to change that, and here's how I learned the hard way, question number 3. So I went to the management class at Disney University. They said, you gotta recognize your people. So I was responsible for Disney Institute, sales director, and so I brought the team together. And Abby, I say, hey, we're gonna recognize Candace Brady. So Candace, in front of 20 other people, turns flush red, runs out of the room. I'm like, huh? What just happened? And I said to Beverly, my executive assistant at the time, I said, go after her. Beverly came back and said, Candace doesn't like public recognition. So I said, Beverly, what do you think we should do? Because all women are right. And she said, I know we're moving quick, all right? You should have heard me when I pulled up, all right? She said, what if you sent a handwritten note to her home address thanking her for her contribution? I said, you're right. I did that. We mailed it. Candace came to my office a few days later and said, that's how I wanted to be recognized. Huge epiphany for me because I was just trying to lump people in, saying, you got a job, you should be happy. No, everybody's wired differently. So make sure we understand. All right, now, got to keep going because we got a lot of ground to cover. So day one, you have somebody join your studio. Let me ask this question, Socratic method of learning. The answer is in the question. How many of you ensure that you give that person a buddy? Awesome. Okay, I see 25% of the hands going up. I'm encouraging you. Here's what the research says. The reason a person stays longer with a business is because there's a buddy who understands the rules of engagement or the culture of the business. So you might be saying, Simon, I'm a small studio, everything's on me. Then encourage day one is where you plant the microchip, pun intended, okay? Because day one sets the tone for the rest of the time. All right, now, I had a video in here, but I'm gonna explain this video. So this is a video that I found on YouTube of this particular CEO introducing a new team member. And she introduces the new team member. The new team member tells a little bit about herself, gives that personal factoid. So Dodie, I'm going to use you as an example, all right? So Dodie, give me a personal factoid about you. What do you like to do when you're not working or running the studio? Hang out with your grandchildren. All right. And do you have a special name for as grandma or? Mimi. What? Can I get a Mimi? Okay. So, all right. So Dodie and I are working together. Dodie's new to the team. I'll say, hey, folks, this is Dodie. When Dodie is not working, she loves being a Mimi. She is absolutely an awesome grandmother, all right? Now, Dodie, if we were on camera, she could actually say this and say this about her. Now, why is that important? Because people connect personally before we get to the business. So if I don't know you, Dodie, oh, Dodie's just, just another instructor. Yeah, come on in, Dodie. It's kind of like, well, that was like really flat. But if I introduce Dodie via video or in person, oh my God, Dodie, I'm a grandmother just like you. And all of a sudden there's a bond. And when Dodie comes back to the studio the next week, who's the first person she's going to talk to? That person that has a grandchildren just like her. Personalization. How do you begin to do little snippets? It could be a digital snackable that you put up on your website. Hey, here's a new instructor on our team. I'm going to have them tell you something about them. That person tells a little bit about themselves. And then you, CEO, says, and here's why they're awesome. Here's why they're brilliant. Because what you're doing, you're depositing into the emotional bank account. As the interest begins to accrue, when they get the call from down the street for a few more dollars, they're like, nah, I'm good, because the emotional bank account is full right now. Yes? Okay, let's keep going. Principle number 2. Everything comes down to relationships. Relationships is, how do I relate to the cargo in your ship? Wherever you are going on the ocean of life, how do I continue as CEO to build that relationship with you so you know that you are cared for? So another part of our research national study that we did was around workplace trauma. Workplace trauma refers to an employee experience that triggers stress, burnout, anxiety, loss of sleep, discouragement, detachment, disenchantment, depression, and zero spark. Workplace trauma and then emotional trauma is a stressful experience that leaves somebody helpless and hopeless. Let's break this down. So let's say I'm working in a place of business and something goes south. Oh, I have been here before. I ain't staying around. You know what? You snapped at me. You sent an email to me. You talked to me like I'm a junkyard dog. What? Who are you? People may not say that. They'll give you the screensaver face. The trauma they suppress and say, you know what? I'm going to get on Indeed.com because I'm about to bounce. But I need to get my check at the end of the week, so I'm going to go through the motions. Yes, everything's fine. I'm out of here. That's silently, quietly quitting, suppressing the trauma of what happened in the environment. All right, so let's unpack this really quickly. When we did our national study, how often do you experience each of the following at work? All right, if you look at the orange bar, Gen Z, off the charts, younger millennials between 27, 35, older millennials, and Gen Xers. So you're probably saying, how are older millennials and Gen Xers able to deal with it as compared to Gen Z and younger millennials? Because older millennials and older Xers have been there, done that, got the t-shirts, said, child, this too shall pass. I wish them young people would get over it. Now, once again, you're judging them based on your experience. This might be their first job, their second place of work out of college or whatever. And something triggers in them. They don't know, like, is this the way the world of work is? In some of our other research, we did a deeper dive to find out, do people have a support system when workplace trauma is triggered? And some, 60% of the research said, some have a family or friend. But you know, the new epidemic is loneliness. So if I have no one to talk to, now I sit with this frustration and I turn to social media. That was the other part of research, or gaming, as an outlet to deal with what's been triggered. Don't have time to get into it too deeply, but let me give you some practical things to think about. Here's one more stat. 45% of working Americans say their organization is not investing in a positive future for them. So that positive future is what? It's the relationship. How do we create a relationship with individuals where they know that they are seen, valued, and understood? So here's an example. This is Jan Newton. I was invited year before, to do a session for 1,000 people from Nothing Bundt Cakes. Anybody ever experienced? Listen, Nothing Bundt Cakes that's love right there. I mean, I have a sweet tooth out of this world. It was so good. So I interviewed a ton of their general managers, and I said, Jan, who's in Mesa, Arizona, her location, I said, Jan, what did you do to create a positive relationship with your team members? And she said one of her team members, Javier, was planning to quit because he didn't see a future working for her in the business that she owned. So she said, when I open up a second location, I said, however, if you stick with me, I've got you. She said, I gave him a little small equity stake in my second location. She said he was so happy he didn't quit on me because he was going to go someplace else. She said now he has been able to buy his first car and his first house because he saw that it wasn't about how much I was making, but I was going to help give him a hand up, not a hand out. Amen. That's relationships. That's a positive relationship environment saying, I'm invested in where you are going, all right? Now, about a year ago, Jody and I, one of our middle daughter, Ashley, Prince Michael was her dog, Prince Michael was our grand dog, and Prince Michael had to be put down, unfortunately. And the vet came to our house and went through the whole process, and this vet turned around and sent this handwritten note to our daughter about the loss of Prince Michael, our dog. And if you read through this note, I'm about to tear up in here right now, because I'm like, who takes the time, I'm a little old school, to write a handwritten note? Not Chat GPT, no AI. You know, nowadays we can tell the difference. Oh, that's Chat GPT. That didn't come from the heart. Ashley, our daughter, still has this note to this day because there's not a day or week that goes by that she doesn't meet or miss Prince Michael. Now, she got booed up. I'm checking out the boyfriend. I don't know if he gonna make the cut. He hasn't replaced Prince Michael, but she's in love. She's all shook up. But my point is, all of our team members are going through different things. And we, as Dance Studio CEOs, I'm inviting us to come alongside and say, I see you. I got you, Sharon. How can I serve you? What do you need? Because it makes more sense to make sure they feel valued instead of feeling insecure and looking for another gig. How do we build that relationship? So here's a tool. What if we implement the serve communication model? Feel free to take a picture of the slide. And the serve communication model works like this. Let me find a person. Is it Christian? Christian, all right. So Christian, if you and I in our conversation, if I'm going to truly serve you, I'm going to ask you questions and I'm going to listen to you, but I need to recognize the same letters that spell the word listen spell the word silent. So if I'm really tuned into where you are, Christian, you know that there's a difference between selective hearing and authentic listening. So I'm going to listen to you, but then I'm going to empathize with you. I'm going to come alongside and say, you know what? I may not understand all that you're dealing with, but I'm here. My goodness, that's all people need. But then I'm going to repeat. I'm going to say, you know what? Here's what I heard you say. Is this what you meant? I'm going to be uber responsive. I'm going to verify commitment. Now, let me drop a pen in commitment. CEOs of dance studios, please hear me, what I'm about to say. When we talk about accountability, there's a difference between rational commitment and emotional commitment. Rational commitment is I'm here in Orlando, Florida at the Rosen Center Hotel. This is really awesome, great session. Is he done yet? Okay. The person that has the rational commitment has what is called, I have to do this. Emotional commitment is I want to do this. And if you have the want to, you'll get a chance to. So when I talk about verifying commitment, just check your heart and say, everything that I've written down, everything that we talked about in the Brilliant Agreement, do I really want to do this? Because that becomes your takeaway to being accountable to yourself and growing your business, all right? Now, let's keep going. Principle number 3, and then I'm going to open up for some questions that you might have. What I've discovered when I interview top performing businesses, CEOs, managers, leaders, they have this ability to make sure everyone knows the power of a thank you. Muchas gracias, dankeschön, thank you, in however a person wants to receive it. One of the challenges I have for you before you return home is what would it be like to send a text or a video message or a handwritten note, whatever suits you, to your team members, every single one of them absolutely stretch, and you may have already done this before you've come, but what would it be like every quarter, every 90 days, since you already have a 90-day cadence to say thank you, to be intentional about that, all right? Here's why. Here's what our research in our national study showed us. The environmental attributes to demonstrate brilliance and resilience comes down to clear communication, coaching and mentorship under brilliance, but look under resilience, flexibility, clear communication, work-life integration. Don't have time to go through all of these and unpack this. But if you take a picture of this slide and say, okay, Simon, what are some practical things that we can do? Be clear in your communication. Pat Massetti, a friend of mine in Australia, says, if it's foggy in here, it's cloudy out here. If it's foggy right here, you know, Monday we say one thing, Wednesday it's something else, Friday it's something else. That's schizophrenic leadership. Hot mess. Be clear. And then guess what? It's okay to say, you know what? I don't know right now. Give me a moment. Let me think about it. I'll come back to you. Okay? Now, this is Dr. Sarah. Dr. Sarah runs a vet clinic in South Carolina. Next to her is Aaron. I was in Charleston doing an event for vets, and I said, Aaron, why do you continue to work for Dr. Sarah, whose vet hospital is in South Carolina, but Aaron lives in Georgia? I said, why do you drive to this vet clinic? She said, because Dr. Sarah makes me feel special, and I'll go above and beyond for her no matter what. And she's got a small hospital of less than 10 team members. But Aaron said this in a stream of conscious. She wasn't kicked under the table. Nobody passed her a Post-it note. She didn't know who I was. I was just having a conversation with her. And she gave me the real story. And I said, Dr. Sarah, you are the bomb.com. Absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome. How are we building that relationship? All right. Any fans of Orange Theory Fitness? Orange Theory Fitness has decided in building their membership, they're going to tell stories about their member. This is Coach Jared. Next to him is Jessica. Jessica, when she came into Orange Theory Fitness, she signed up and no-showed, totally ghosted. She was 260 pounds, had just got diagnosed with diabetes. Coach Jared didn't see her, called her, said, we miss you. When are you coming? And she says, I'm going to get there. He stayed on her, continued to call and follow up. She eventually showed up. She went from 260 down to 130, size 26, down to size 4. But then was challenged with, who am I now? Because I was defined by my weight. So she shifted over to depression, was about to give up, and during her darkest hour, Coach Jared would call and say, Orange Theory Fitness is here for you. What do we need? What can we do for you? They got her help. And she is forever grateful for Orange Theory Fitness because it wasn't about a transaction. It's about a relationship. A relationship, okay? So, micro practice. Individualize the experience. Every one of your team members, everybody is different. How do you ensure that you find out what's important to them, all right? I know I'm moving quick. This is the slide I want you to take a picture of. 1 minute spent on recognition creates 100 minutes of initiative. You want your studio to go to another level? Recognize individuals, find out what's they're thinking because they see things, hear things that you don't. And if they're recognized in the manner in which they want to receive it, they'll come up with an idea that it would take your studios to the next level. Yes? Okay. Q&A. Questions, thoughts, comments, all right? Now, we've got microphones right here, Mike, so if you get to the microphones very quickly, all right? And while you're getting to the microphones, we have a special bonus for you. And how you get the special bonus is use the QR code, fill out the survey, but at the end of the survey, we have created, where's Taylor? Taylor, raise your hand. Taylor is our digital marketing manager, absolutely brilliant. I am just so honored to work with her. Taylor has created a 30-day free toolkit for you to use over the next 4 weeks with do this particular step based on something that I said. The following week, do this step, do this step, do this next step. 4 weeks, 30 days, some of our best thinking, something to get you moving very quickly, all right? First question right here. Awesome. Hi, your name?
I'm Shauna.
Hey, Shauna.
Hi. By the way, Jody and I actually did some training at the Disney Institute back in October.
On, nice.
It was killer. And I'm actually going to ask you the question that I asked him that he didn't answer, actually. So Disney, so I asked, he was talking about that traditions course when they're onboarding employees there. And it's wonderful. And I said, on average, how many people does Disney onboard at a time? And he said like 3,000 or something like that. And I said, okay, for those of us that have a company a little bit smaller than Disney, normally we do like a staff retreat at the beginning of our season. Everyone's there. We're bonding. We're meeting our buddies, like all the important stuff that you mentioned. And then throughout the season, normally we'll onboard like one person at a time. And a lot of us have an onboarding system, but it's nearly impossible for us to offer them that same kind of bonding experience that everybody else got. What can you recommend that we do to be able to get closer to that same experience?
Yeah, awesome. So 3 suggestions. The first thing is find out if they are married, significant other, they have a boo or baby. Find out the name of that person. Obviously, you can find it out on social media. Take a picture of that, and I'm going somewhere with this because I don't want this to sound like freaky. All right, so, all right, capture a picture of that. Number 2, find out their favorite food. So in the interview, find out what they like to snack on. If they're totally vegan, healthy, get a bunch of those together. Third thing, find out what is personal about them. What do they do outside of work? When they show up that first day, decorate an area, have signs on it, pictures of their loved ones, favorite food, activities, because they're like, oh my goodness, you took the step. I'm just one person being onboarded to make me feel loved. What kind of environment is this? Because I've never experienced it before. That's amazing, becomes an aha. Second thing, create a video of you telling the story, how you started the studio, why you started the studio, how you financed the studio. Get a little Walt on them, because all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, I'm a part of the story. Yeah. But then the third thing is, here is the story that you will continue with our customers. And this is why we are so happy you're here. And you can put in a video, you can send it to their phone where they can watch this, but then they come into this physical place and you took the time to create a magic moment, or what we call a spark moment. It becomes like the hook that they're like, this is unbelievable. All right,
very
does
cool.
that help
Thank
you?
Yes,
thank you. All right, over here. Yes, ma'am.
Is it on? Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is a little vulnerable for me because this is an area where I'm really sucking right now.
All right, give me your name. Give me your
Bonnie.
name. Bonnie, okay.
And I didn't expect to suck because I think I'm a very friendly, encouraging, wonderful person, boss.
Okay, Bonnie, before you go on, Bonnie,
yeah.
can I invite you into a conversation?
Okay.
Before you go on.
Sure.
I want you to invite you to lose the word suck, all right? And I want to invite you into I am being challenged.
I am being challenged.
Okay, there you go.
I am being challenged. I came away from the last retreat listening to speakers, no offense, kind of like you, very inspired to get with my team and get on board and do all these great things for them. Since that time, I've had to fire one team member. It was completely traumatic for me, myself, and my entire team. I've never fired anyone before. I feel like I'm going to have to fire another person. I've hired an HR company because I'm so confused about all the requirements in the state of California. God bless the state of California. Horrible place to do business. Lovely place to live. But I'm just really, I don't know what to do anymore. I keep having meetings, I keep listening, I keep talking. I feel there's this tension between what I need my team to do and what they want to do or what they feel they're entitled to. It's just, I'm just so confused.
Okay. First of all, Bonnie, I want to honor that you had the gumption and the chutzpah to come up and to ask me this question, all right? Seriously, because I think there's a ton of other people out here that didn't come up and they are leaning in to hear what I'm about to say. So let's unpack this for a moment. What is it that you sense the tension is between what you want to do and what they are thinking? What is it that's missing that you know should be added in?
Well, I think part of the problem is I'm not from that generation. Okay? I grew up believing in hard work and having a work ethic. I'm not saying this to judge anybody. No, but I do feel that my employees don't have this kind of, also I'm an entrepreneur, they're employees, they don't have a fire in their belly. Some of them do, but some of them don't, and they just, to me, it just seems like they want to have a good time at work and just have, I don't feel that they really want to make a contribution to the organization, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
Most of them.
So Bonnie, a couple of things to think about. I said a moment ago, we don't see people as they are, we see them as we are. And sometimes we look at them through the lens of, I'm an entrepreneur, they should be hungry, they should have fire in their belly, go, 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 all right? And I understand that, I'm the same way. And here's the epiphany I had. What if I come alongside and share the financials? Here's how we built the business, here's how we got the business to this point. And do you see where it says operating expense, salaries, and labor? That's you. And when we take care of our customers, I'm able to make sure not only do you have employment, but you're paid efficiently. Here's what will happen. People will either self-select themselves out, oh my goodness, Bonnie is about to turn the heat up, I'm gonna go somewhere else. Guess what? We invite them to find their happiness elsewhere. Mm-hmm. Secondly, if you intuitively sense in your gut that there's someone else you need to release, I know you are already interviewing, you have ran businesses, you've got people on the bench, all right? Be okay releasing that person, but also, let me add balance to this, have I given them opportunity to turn it around? Have I come alongside to explain our vision, where we're going? So build a bridge from where they are to where we want to go together and do that. You will sleep better at night because before you invite them to find their happiness elsewhere, you clearly communicated, here is where we are and here's where I want to go. Give them 30, 60, 90 days. If you don't see a turnaround, then follow your gut. But give them every human being just wants to know, okay, I want to be challenged, and maybe I need that swift kick in the rear end. And what you may discover, Bonnie, if they leave, they may come back one day and say, you know what? Thank you so much for firing me. That was the best decision.
I hope so, because it was really hard firing this person.
No, I understand.
Really hard.
Let me say one more thing before we go to the next person. So there are coaches that were introduced. I would connect with your coach, and your coach is probably already listening, and they will have some other tools for you. But here's the last thing. How many of you have been where Bonnie is? How many of you? Will you find Bonnie over the next few days, water cooler, coffee machine, and whisper a little something, something in her ear to encourage her? Yes? All right, thank you. All right, thank you. All right. One question here, and then I got to wrap it up because I stand between you guys in the bar. I'm sorry, the rest of the program. Yes, ma'am.
Hi.
Hi, your name?
Brittany.
Hey, Brittany.
Hi. So I have a two-part question.
Yes.
All of these leadership exercises, techniques, do you recommend doing that with the entire team, meaning all levels, or I do it with my leadership team, and then they go do it with teachers and kind of that next level?
What does your gut tell you?
I do it with my leadership team and then empower them to go do it with their direct reports.
All right, see how I invited you in to find your answer? And this is a great example. My job as a facilitator is not to tell you what you need to do. You know your data. 80% of your nervous system is in your gut. Follow your intuition. That's your takeaway. Follow that, learn from that, then say, okay, what's the next step? So you're right on the path.
So I guess my hiccup, though, is like Walt Disney. You're hearing from Walt Disney, right? So do my teachers, the lower level, want to be inspired by the top leader?
What do you think?
Yes. So then it's me doing it with the whole team.
Yes.
Okay.
See, the fruit doesn't fall too far from the tree. We've often heard that. Leadership is caught and leadership is taught. So as I'm infusing my spirit, my energy, accountability, and my core, they are catching from me what success looks like. I'm recognizing them. Okay, this is great. Then they carry a piece of you to the rest.
And that doesn't take away from their supervisor, their direct report?
No, because what you want to make sure, those supervisors and direct reports are empowered, right? And as they get a little equity of, wow, this is great, this is working out, then you give them feedback, empower them to come back and say, what do you hear and what are you seeing? How do we tweak? How do we make it better? Okay, but here's the thing. Consistency is the key to the breakthrough. So between now and the end of the year, start this process and you'll probably look up, by the time you get to July, at the next retreat, you'll have a story to share, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. All right, right here, last question.
Hello, I'm Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer.
I'm from Texas. And I have the problem with my teachers and their boundary with their customers, the parents and the students. And I feel like when I try to tell them they need to have a boundary, we want to share, we want to feel like they're a part of our family. We call them our dance family. But then they're going to certain kids' birthday parties. They are friends with them on social network. And when I try to shut it down, these younger generations, they're friends with them, outside of the business. And how do we make it professional, yet still include them as part of our dance family?
First of all, thank you for this question, because I don't think you're the only one that's dealing with this. So you may already have this. May I ask you a question?
Yes.
So when a person comes to work as an instructor in your studio, do you have a list of professional standards, the rules of engagement as to what you expect from them?
I do. I tell them if they're going to be like Facebook friends, for example, they need to have a professional page. They're not supposed to give out their cell phone numbers. It landslides. They're good teachers that have been with me for 10 years.
Yes.
And so sometimes it gets complicated because they've known them outside of the business.
Okay, let me ask you a different question. A lot of this sometimes is caused by parents. Do you also walk parents through, here's our rules of engagement, here's our boundaries, here's what we expect?
No, I have not done that.
All right, and here's why I asked that question. Not all money is good money, okay?
Oh, yeah.
So here's what I mean by this. If parents now understand professional standards, here's what is expected, you will operate by the letter of the law, and if you don't, we will kick your kid out. And I know that's a little harsh, right? But until you draw the line in the sand and stop it with the parents are going to continue to engage that instructor. Hey, honey child, come to JoJo's birthday. No.
And they
here's our
expect favoritism and all of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No. Here's our standard. This is the way it is. Like it or lump it, there are 8 billion people on the planet. We will find additional people to come to our studio.
Love it. Thank you.
Okay? All right. So I am out of time. But here's just, we've shared a lot. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm going to end with this video that sums up everything that I've shared with you thus far. I was invited by Hilton Corporation to speak to 4,000 of their general managers. I'm telling the story of a GM who I didn't know was in the audience, and all of a sudden he just comes up front. This is not staged, it happens in the moment. Let me take you into this experience. This is totally unplanned. This is Ian Sauer.
This is Simon T. Bailey.
When I dropped out of school and I was looking for a job, I did go back to school, got my undergrad, got my master's degree. It was this guy who 28 years ago gave me a shot, who gave me a job, took me from the day's end, and when I was offered a job to go and work at the Ritz-Carlton Buckhead in 1987, I turned the job down because I didn't want to leave this general manager. Y'all have to excuse me. Y'all have to excuse me. But it was Ian Sauer who took me from the day's end to the comfort end. And I followed him and Jan Bateman wherever they went because they created a moment for me as an employee. And Ian, I would not be the man that I am today at 49 years of age if you didn't make me a better front desk clerk. Thank you. Thank you. Dance studio CEOs, accountability is all about making people better. I don't know when I'm going to see you again, but I want to let you know I love you. I believe in you. There's not a darn thing you can do about it. You can follow me on social. I'm going to hang around. I'll be around if you have questions. Thank you so much.
Give it up for Simon one more time, everybody. Fantastic, thank you. What a way to kick off this week. You guys, I was having so many moments back there on behalf of all of you, because when I was talking to Simon and we were preparing for this, I said something I'm seeing a lot, especially with these younger employees coming up, is the accountability. Everybody feels like I can't get anybody to work. I can't hold them accountable. They're just not doing things. And I love leadership. It's something I'm super passionate about. It's something I'm always striving to be better at in my position, in my career. And I feel like leadership is such an important and brilliant and difficult position to be in. Because if you do it well, it feels amazing. You get to watch people rise up to their most incredible potential. If you don't do it well, it feels terrible. And I think oftentimes when we have team that's not performing, and we're in the day-to-day and we're like, oh, why aren't you showing up? Why don't you want to do a good job? We first have to turn the lens on ourselves as leaders. Yeah, have we set the expectation? Have we made them feel the value? Have we cultivated that relationship to make them love us and love where they work so that they're intrinsically inspired to show up and do amazing things? And I talked about this yesterday on Map Out Your Week. I said, look, I gotta tell you guys something really honestly. This might be a blind spot you have if you've been a CEO for like 25 years, but nobody that works for you is showing up at your studio saying, God, I hope I make her another $100,000 this month. Man, I really want her to get that convertible. No one's doing that. What they are doing is showing up and going, God, I really want to have a career in dance. And I know that one day I won't be able to teach 25 hours a week anymore. So what is my trajectory in this industry? And I think as leaders, it's amazing if you sit down with your people and say, what are your personal goals? What are your professional goals? And how can I help you get there? That is how we inspire our team to show up for us.